Hello and welcome to this Astranti video where we'll be going through the survey results that we received for the management case study exam for the August 2021 exam sitting, which is for our pre-seen company trainer. Now this was the final exam sitting for this pre-seen company, and so the next exam sitting for a new pre-seen company will take place in November 2021. So consider using any information you find useful in this video to help you prepare for your next exam. Now, starting with exam difficulty, there has been a good spread of students who found the exam either as expected or easier in terms of difficulty. This is actually quite a significant improvement over the previous sitting, where the majority of students found the exam to be overall more difficult. Perhaps this was due to the exam being the second sitting. Maybe students had more time to prepare for the exam and so they found it easier, or they weren't as surprised by the topics that came up as a result, which is in stark contrast to those who do the first sitting, where you only have about 8 weeks at best to do all your preparation. So as a result, there has been nothing really specific regarding the student feedback in terms of difficulty. There's been a variety of things that students did find difficult, but nothing that came up as a pattern. So it could be that the variants this time were just much easier, or as I said before, August students felt more prepared and so found the exam overall as expected or easier. So maybe that's something to bear in mind when preparing for your exams. But then there's also a question of what students wish they had done more of. And this is always an interesting one every exam sitting, because generally speaking, the statistics tend to be broadly the same, but there tend to be just a little bit of variation. And what we can see here is that, once again, theory and revision take the cake, all right? When it comes to revising theory and doing mock exam practice, you need to be doing these for the exam, because at the end of the day, these exams do test your theoretical knowledge. There has been information from the examiners' reports, where they do look for the application of theory in these exams to the pre-seen company. So one of two things you need to do. You need to A, make sure you revise your theory, understand the concepts, models, any international financial reporting standards, and then you also need to know how they apply in an exam scenario, because there's no good just understanding the theory and regurgitating it. You need to also apply it to the scenario presented to you in the exam, and the only way you can practice that is by doing mock exams. So that's why the majority of students once again say that these are the two core areas they wish they'd spent more time on. And I cannot stress enough why this is important for those reasons. Then in third place, we essentially have answer planning and time management. They're essentially more or less the same thing. Time management sure comes into play when you're actually writing, but part of that can come into effective answer planning as well. When you start reading the exam papers, it's recommended that you do things like read the questions first, i.e. the bullet points, so you can figure out what kind of question you're going to be asked and start planning around that sooner rather than later. The best answers tend to have maybe 1 or 2 minutes spent at the very beginning of the task planning out the answer, because not only does planning the answer out give you a structure to follow, it can also help your time management, because you're not sat there for a while thinking, oh, what do I write about next? Well, you've got your plan in front of you. You can use that as your basis. So the two go hand in hand. Time management and answer planning can be key for students who want to improve their ability in doing the exams. As for what students wish they had spent less time on, once again, industry research and analysis comes out on top. As I'll stress with this point, as I've stressed in previous videos as well, while the industry analysis is important, because you need to have a respect and an understanding of what kind of industry the company is in, so in this case the training company trainer, what kind of industry it is in, and what the strategic importance of your decisions might be, because the whole point of this exam is to make sure that you give strategically sound responses, and the only way you can do that is if you understand the industry. But do not spend so much of your time reading through the industry pack, trying to learn every little facet of the industry, because at the end of the day, you're not going to be assessed on your knowledge of the industry. You're going to be assessed on your theoretical knowledge of the CIMA syllabus, and then how that applies to the pre-seen company. Instead, what you should use the industry analysis for is for gaining some context. You should skim read it, just get some ideas. If you're not familiar with the industry going into the exam, it's there. So that way then you have some context as to what you're dealing with. Then when it comes to the exam, what the industry analysis should be used for is for having 1 sentence lines where you explain something and you give an example, a real world example, and you give like a sentence explanation of what that is. Because then that shows the examiner that you understand how your decision or your explanation applies in the real world. It gives greater context and value to the response you're making. But it also won't make or break your exam either. That will come from understanding the theory and practicing mock exams. Instead, the industry analysis is a really good way of gaining some extra marks and trying to solidify your answer. So just be careful. As many students have said here, spend less time on the industry analysis, focus more on revision of theory and the mocks, and instead treat the industry analysis as something to supplement all of your information so you can add additional value to your answers. Now, the pre-scene analysis might be a weird one to think of. Well, surely you need this for the exam. Well, really, what you need the pre-scene analysis for is similar to the industry analysis, is to gain context. So you understand who you're dealing with, what the company is, what they do, what products they produce or services they produce. So that way, then, you can produce answers that make sense. There's no point talking about, say, receivables management when the company doesn't collect receivables, right? It doesn't make sense. So having knowledge of the pre-scene can help in making sure your answers just outright make sense. But you shouldn't be spending too long trying to revise it. Instead, what you need to do is pick out key bits of information, like maybe some financial statistics, maybe some information about its products. Commit those to memory, because those are the things you're more likely to recall in the exam. As if you're spending time going through the pre-scene analysis trying to find for that one little nugget of information, you're wasting time, which could be spent writing. So read the pre-scene analysis by all means, but don't dedicate the majority of your revision time to it. Instead, that should, as I said before, revision in theory and mock exams should be the focus there. And interestingly enough, for the first time since I started doing these, typing speed is the first one to come up. Yes, the exam is typed, so you need to make sure you do have a good typing speed, but it looks like the majority of students, a good portion of students this time felt that typing speed wasn't as much of an issue. So maybe more students are becoming quite comfortable with keyboard touch typing, and that's becoming less of an issue. But just something to bear in mind, if you're not a comfortable touch typist, might need to consider trying to improve that in preparation for the exam nonetheless. So what tips would I give you and to future students? Well, sit the mock exams, okay? They are there for a reason. They're there to give you the time to not only revise what you've learned and apply it, but also learn from your mistakes before the exam so that you can rectify them, and then hopefully come the exam, you will be brilliant at writing these answers, and the mock exams will help you achieve that. If you don't do the mock exams, you lose out on not only the marking that you can receive, but also what the exam is like, theoretically speaking. So do the mock exams to practice things like timing, structure planning, revision of theory. You can even use the exams, the mock exams, as a form of revision. Okay, they'll go over certain topics and you can use those as ways of saying, well, do I understand this topic truly? And if you don't, go back and revise it. For gateway students, I would recommend considerably that you do focus on theory as well. This will be one area of the exam that you may not be as comfortable with because you're coming in from the, well, through a gateway exemption. So as a result, make sure you understand the theory for this level of the CIMA exam, as you will be assessed on it. And then the last little tidbit of information, which I've been using the last couple of videos now because a student made this quote and I love it so much, okay? Think of it as if it were your business, what would you do? Okay, that's the sort of approach you've got to take with these, okay? You're being asked for some advice, you're being asked to provide an explanation. Well, if you had to actually make this explanation or you had to provide this advice for your own business, what would you do? And that can help you form an answer that just makes sense. It allows you to think more logically about how you would respond to this question. Now, while I've got your attention at the end of this video, I'd like to make you aware of the other products that Astranti sell as part of the case study course. So the first of these is a series of study text and tuition videos, and these come in two flavors. You have our written study text if you prefer learning through reading, or you can watch our videos if you're more of a visual learner. Now to start with, we have an exam technique study series, which breaks down how to succeed at various case study levels. We'll be looking at exam technique, writing style, and planning that you need to nail to be successful in your case study exams. And to accompany this, we also have a revision series dedicated to the theory side of things. This is because at the case study level, there is a large amount of theory you need to be capable of using in your case study exam. So what we've done here is we've taken the key areas of the theory from the 3 case study levels and condensed them into a series of chapters to help focus your revision. Moving away from the more generic products and onto the products that are specific to the case study pre-scene, the first of these is the pre-scene analysis video series. First and foremost, this contains a series of videos where we break down the relevant pre-scene at the appropriate level of the qualification, page by page. And throughout this video, we bring out all the key points that could be relevant for you in your exam, looking at various topics and things you might need to consider when revising for the case study. And then to supplement the pre-scene analysis, we also have 2 videos. We have the strategic analysis where we give a broad overview of what kind of strategy the pre-scene company is using and where it might be going in the future. And then we also look at the top 10 issues that we think this pre-scene company might be subject to and something that you may need to take into consideration when revising for the case study. We then provide an industry analysis document and accompanying video. CIMA like to see you demonstrate wider industry knowledge in your exam, and this is what this industry analysis does, as it gives you the wider industry knowledge you need in order to fulfill this requirement. Essentially what it is, it's a large document that we've compiled on all the relevant industry information that we have gathered so that you don't have to do the revision yourself. And then to accompany this, we of course have a video that goes over this document to pick out some of the key points for you if you'd prefer that. We also produce a number of mock exams for every sitting. We write 5 mock exams for the first exam sitting, and then we add 2 more supplementary mocks for the second exam sitting. We design these mocks around the specific issues relevant to the pre-scene and make them as close to the real thing as you will see in the case study exam as possible. So these are a great way to practice your exam technique and test your knowledge of the pre-scene company under timed conditions. And then to add value to this product, we also offer a marking and feedback service. So we have a range of highly skilled finance professionals working as freelance staff for us, and it is these staff that provide the marking and feedback service. So this is a great service to use in conjunction with our mock exams, as it gives you a great idea of how you're progressing in the areas you need to work on for your case study exam. And then if you're in need of extra exam practice, we also provide a more generic question pack product. So obviously there are only so many questions you could write about on a specific pre-scene. So what this question pack is a series of generic questions on generic scenarios that we come up with at Astranti, whereby we look to test specific topics that come up regularly in the case study exam. So if there is a particular topic you are struggling with and we've only tested once in our mocks, and you'd like more practice on it, then these question packs will be a great product for you to turn to. The penultimate product on this list is a product for those of you who would like to get a full overriding picture in terms of your revision all at once, and these are our masterclasses. So these are our expert tutors who hold 2 masterclasses every exam sitting, and these essentially cover all key aspects that you're going to need to know for your relevant exams. So from particular theories to analyses of the pre-scene, all the way through to tips and tricks you can use in your exam. And finally, such is the confidence we have in the quality of our product that if you do purchase a full course from us and you unfortunately do not pass your exam using our product, then we will offer what we call a pass guarantee. So if you did not pass your exam after purchasing our full course, then you will receive the materials for the next exam sitting free of charge. Okay, thank you very much for listening to that. I hope you find our products useful, and of course I would like to wish you the best of luck in your exam from everyone at Astranti.